Welcome back to the Living in St. George, Utah channel. This is Sue and Courtney here, and we're part of the best relocation team here in southern Utah. So you're probably wondering, if you're thinking about moving out here, what are the pros and cons to living out here in St. George, Utah? So let's get started with some pros and some cons. And I will say that it was a little bit hard to talk about the cons because there's not much,
I agree.
Yeah, so we were just going over it and I was like, there's not many, kind of like stretching, but we want to be honest with you, right? Like we want to say what it's really like to live out here. So let's get started. And let's start with a pro, because there's more pros than cons, at least in my opinion. So one of the biggest pros, and I would say is a huge reason why people come out here and why they want to live here, is it's so beautiful.
Yes, yes.
There's just so much variety of scenery within a very short distance. I mean, you have the Red Mountain, which is so beautiful, up in Ivins, and then you've got, that's like 20 minutes away from where we're standing. And then you've got Zion, which is like 45 minutes away. Then 45 minutes away is Pine Valley, which is totally alpine scenery. It's not desert at all. There's just so much different stuff.
It's diverse.
Yeah, it's so crazy. And then, you can even go up into Bryan Head, and that's only 90 minutes away, and that's one of the best ski resorts in the whole country. So it's kind of incredible what you have at your fingertips here.
It absolutely is incredible of what you get here and in the vicinity. Within a half an hour, you can be anywhere. And
Yeah.
so it's wonderful. You could be in the mountains within an hour and a half, and then, you could just be down in the valley with an hour and a half with thinking that you're in a different place.
Yeah, it's so interesting just how much variety of terrain and I don't know, I'm not a scientist, but like the different ecology that there is around here. So it's weird. It's incredible.
It really is. We keep using the word scenic, but
Yes.
it absolutely is. The colors, the red,
The red and the green, and then when you get a little snow on the mountains, you have the white. It's just so pretty.
stunning.
Yeah, it's just, my kids are a little older now, so we're back to traveling and going on vacations and stuff. I love to travel, but every time I travel anywhere, I always just get more appreciative of St. George because there are a few places in the country that are as nice.
And we're small enough that we're slow enough that we're able to appreciate these great outdoors.
Yeah, so that was another point that I was going to bring up. Now, before we continue, let's just introduce ourselves. My name is Courtney Dezad,
And I'm Sue Halterman.
and we are licensed real estate agents here in the state of Utah. So if you are thinking about moving out here to beautiful St. George, don't forget to call or text that number right there. That number is a cell phone, so you can call or text us, and we can get you started on finding that perfect property for you. Remember, our team here in St. George has over 40 years of experience, so we can get you started on finding whatever you want here in St. George, as long as that exists, right? Sometimes people ask for things we're like, it doesn't really exist, but as long as it exists, we can help you find that perfect property for you. So don't forget to call or text us. So St. George, this is a pro, it has a very small town vibe, but at the same time, you can really get everything you need on a day-to-day basis here. You're not really lacking for anything. It's not like some small towns where you don't really have anything. You don't even have like a Walmart or something. Like that's not how
we have two Walmarts.
Yeah, like we have
Target, we have Costco.
Yeah, everything you need day-to-day is right here. Of course, you don't have, all the shopping and dining that you could ever want. I mean, that's not available here. That could be looked at as a con, right? You're not going to get like high-end dining or high-end shopping or anything like that. But Vegas is only an hour and 45 minutes down the road, so you really have like the best of both worlds here.
We do. We have a mall, Courtney.
We do.
We do have a mall. We have an indoor mall, and it's great.
Yeah.
It's anchored by Dillard's and JCPenney's.
And it is growing. So yeah, but I mean, if you're from a big city, you're not going to be getting that like variety of restaurants where you're like, oh, I want this particular type of cuisine right now at 11 o'clock at night. Like that doesn't exist here. But
Yeah. And as far as shopping, you wouldn't have like a full day of shopping, but you'd have a couple of good hours of shopping here.
Yeah, so I would say, like my husband likes to say, like it punches above its weight class. Like you're not going to be lacking for anything on your day-to-day basis. Like anything you need is here. So
That's a good one.
yeah, it's more just for the maybe special circumstances. You might have to go to Vegas or maybe have to go online or something like that. So another big pro of this area is that you can have 365 days of outdoor living. Of course, we have, our brutal summers. It does get very hot here, especially in July, easily 110 every day, if not higher. But you can still get around it. Like, you can still go outside in the morning, even in July. People like to compare the weather here in St. George to Las Vegas. I would say our summer isn't as bad as Las Vegas. Like, Las Vegas, it'll still be like 105 in the morning. So
How I compare it to Las Vegas as far as that brutal heat is we've got a lot of shade cover.
True, that's true. It's a lot greener here. Yeah, and I would say you do get used to it. Like, if you're from an area that's not as brutal of a summer, you get used to it like faster than you'd think. At least I did. So.
St. George is kind of like in a little valley. So we've got the mountains that kind of counteract all that brutal sun.
Yeah,
it
for
absorbs
sure.
some of that heat.
Yeah,
too.
like Pine Mountain, it does seem to, I guess, like geologically, it is kind of like it protects this area in terms of having it not be so extreme.
Back in my days at high school, at Pineview High School here, I remember learning about this Pine Valley Mountain and how come we have such mild weather. And that's because the clouds come over Pine Valley Mountain and they break right there. So then the rest of St. George, we get this pleasant weather with not very much snow or not too much rain either.
Yeah, I mean, our winters here, if you don't know anything about southern Utah, you may think all of Utah is like Salt Lake City, where you have those brutal winters. I think last year, Salt Lake City had about 6 months of snow. It was a hard winter last year, but here it's just mild. Like, maybe we'll get a dusting of snow.
And maybe you've heard about the inversion in Salt Lake City. We don't have that, guys.
Yes.
We have very low pollution.
Yeah, I was actually talking to somebody yesterday who moved out here from Salt Lake, and he was saying the reason why nobody smokes in Salt Lake City is because you're already smoking when you go outside. Because of the inversion, this is what happens in the winter. It kind of gets like trapped, all of the pollution, because it's in a valley. So yeah, we don't have that here at all. So.
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we have blue skies most of the time. Of course, sometimes it can get cloudy. We've been having some monsoons, which has been nice because that means the temperature has gone down. But yeah.
And we tend to like the clouds when they come in because they're not very often.
Yeah, so it's just the mild winters here are such a big plus. It's a big reason why people move out here. I mean, I see so many license plates from like Idaho, from Wyoming, from Montana. I mean, you consistently see those license plates because people just are so sick of the snow.
And let's talk about the humidity too, the very low humidity that we have here.
Yeah, we do have very low humidity, except for when the monsoons roll in, which isn't very often. So
a couple of weeks during the summer.
Yeah, so it's definitely, that helps with the heat as well. Like, I know people say, oh, it's a dry heat, so it isn't as hot. But that actually is true. Like, like my sister lives in Texas, and so the same temperature there just feels so much worse.
It's hard to explain.
Yeah.
But when you get here and you are from a high humidity place, you'll see the difference. You'll feel the difference.
Yeah, or you think like Florida, people wonder, oh, is the summer as bad here as it is in Florida? And I'd say like, it depends, but the difference between here and Florida is that Florida is nice for like 1 month out of the year, whereas here it's honestly really nice for 9 months, and it's good for 10 to 11 months. So yeah, so it's just really nice.
I often get clients from high humidity places, and they're just surprised that we could be outside, no screens, just outside and enjoying the outdoors. So
Yeah.
it makes a difference.
It does, and I also think it makes a difference for bugs too. Like, you don't get, like in those high humidity places, you get a lot of mosquitoes. It's gross. Like, that's not how it is here. Like, I don't think I've ever even gotten bitten by a mosquito. Not to say that they don't exist, but it's just
we don't need screens.
we don't need bug spray. I mean, I was even up in Salt Lake recently for a soccer tournament, and I was putting tons of bug spray on me because I was getting bit like crazy. So we don't really have that here. Another big pro of living out here in St. George is the healthcare out here. So Utah itself, the state of Utah, is ranked very high for healthcare on a lot of different lists. Sue was looking at a Wallet Hub list, and it ranked Utah number 5 in the whole country, and U.S. News and World Report ranked Utah number 7 in the whole country for healthcare, and they're basing it off of access, cost, outcome. So yeah, that's just something to know. And then our hospital here in St. George, the St. George Regional Hospital, it's very highly ranked hospital as well. You can Google it for yourself. I know just anecdotally they are able to recruit doctors because it's just such a nice place to live, right? So there's a lot of competition. So you're getting a lot of the top doctors who want to come out here. Another thing to know is the schools out here. So again, Utah itself for state rankings ranks very high for schools. In U.S. News and World Report ranks Utah the state for number 5 out of all 50 states, and that's including from preschool all the way on up to university.
And then we have elementary schools that also rank really high in our state of Utah.
Yeah, there's a lot of choices here. You know, there's a lot of charter schools, there's language immersion schools, there's schools that allow you to finish, you know, that are very tied very closely with Utah Tech, so kids can get their AA by the time they finish high school. There's just a lot of options.
Speaking of tech, my son is going to a new tech high school, and it's Pathway, so they get certificates while they're going to high school.
Yeah, that just opened, so that's another option too. So yeah, there's I wouldn't say big, but growing tech community here. Obviously we have Utah Tech, and then we have Dixie Tech, which is a community college, and then that high school just opened. So yeah, that's just really nice options out here. So another thing you want to know about probably is the economy, right? And so it's definitely a pro and con here, I would say. Obviously Utah, a pro is that it's a very business-friendly state, very friendly to entrepreneurs out here, but definitely because St. George is a smaller region, right? Our economy, it's just not as robust as what you'd find up in northern Utah, like Salt Lake City. Like that definitely is known as a big tech hub. Booming, yeah. Tons of people are moving out there for jobs. Whereas here, you just don't have that same variety of jobs. It's more not because it's not growing and it's not a good environment. It's just small, right? We only have 200,000 people here in this metro area, so.
We do rank pretty high as far as startup companies. So if you're trying to build up a small business, we rank pretty high. We're in the top 5 actually in a lot of lists.
Yeah, I think Wallet Hub had a list that was ranking St. George as a very good place for startups. Again, very business friendly. I think I was reading an article and somebody was saying they moved out here, they opened a business out here, and they were just blown away that it was one of the first places that they'd ever lived where the public officials were trying to help them, not hurt them. Because in some states that are not business friendly, businesses are looked at as the enemy, right? And that's not how it is here at all.
Oh, that's a really good plug for community too. How we build community, we support one another.
For sure, like that's a big pro out here is that people are so nice and so welcoming. I think that's a thing, if you're moving to a new place, you don't know anyone, you might be afraid you're not going to find that community, right? You're not going to find friends. Like I've just found that people are so welcoming and just, it's been easy to like plug into the community.
I think so too. I think in general we prefer to go to a smaller mom and pop than maybe a bigger, Walmart, something like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and the people are just so nice. It's kind of like a breath of fresh air if you're from like a bigger city where you're maybe used, people just live like this, right? That's not how it is at all here. Like people say hello to you. People talk to you.
You mentioned in another video, somebody might knock on your door.
Yes, that's true. Your neighbors will likely knock on your door and want to get to know you, maybe invite you to a barbecue. So, yeah.
It's just kind of our normal here in this small town of St. George, Utah.
Yeah, let's get a little bit more cons in there because we're saying so many pros.
We've got to be a little even.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much, I can't remember now, but how much we stress, like definitely a con is the summer, right? I mean, it's brutally hot, easily 110 or over in July. That's just something you kind of have to deal with. I know we talked about it earlier, but that is a con, but in exchange you get just really nice winters, so.
We talked about the cons of our airport and how we don't have discount airlines coming in here.
Yeah, that's true. It's probably better than maybe what I've said on the channel before, but it's definitely limited, I would say.
So that's how we get to that isolated, is that you probably have to go to Las Vegas if you want to go somewhere a little bit further and more economically.
Yeah, for sure. Like my sister actually has been wanting to move out here, but she travels a lot internationally just for her job. Like she's usually in like Asia or Europe at least 4 or 5 times a year. So for her, it just doesn't make sense because of the airport, right?
Yes.
So,
and we have to remind you that we're only 2 hours north of Las Vegas.
That's a big pro, because if you ever are wanting like maybe that really fine dining experience, or maybe you want to see like a really nice show, go see Taylor Swift or something like that, it's only an hour and 45 minutes, and you don't even necessarily have to stay overnight. Like,
no, it could be a day trip.
For sure. We go down to Vegas all the time just for the day, so that's really nice. If I'm missing some food that I really want, I just go to Vegas. So
For me, it's shopping. If I need to go to a Nordstrom and I want to just, go into some shopping places, I go to Las Vegas.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, that is a huge pro. It's actually, if it wasn't for Las Vegas, I think for me it would be a little bit harder to live here, because sometimes you do just kind of want that big city experience. So you get to experience that when you want, but you don't have to live there. So.
Yes, you don't have to live in Las Vegas.
Yeah, so that's one nice thing. Now this next point is a pro and a con depending on how you look at it. So there is a lot of new construction here. So I know for anyone who maybe is used to an older house, doesn't want to take care of their house anymore, new construction is like a big draw. And then sometimes people, they don't like it as much because it's not as charming, right? Maybe you're from like the East Coast, you're used to those like really
characteristics.
Yeah, really old neighborhoods with a lot of character. Like that's not how it is here. It's a lot of like master plan communities, a lot of HOAs. Some people really do not like HOAs. They don't like somebody else, being their boss, right? Somebody over them. Yeah, another thing too is that if you're interested in coming out here, maybe buy something to flip it. That doesn't really work out here because there is like so much new construction. More people are just like, well, why wouldn't I just buy a new construction, right? So, and then if you are interested in new construction, just one thing to note, obviously, we would love to represent you if you want to buy new construction, but even if you don't want to work with us, we always recommend that you do work with an agent, because when you go direct to the builder, you just have to know that the builder's looking out for themselves.
The builders will have their own contracts. Let us fine tune that for you. Let us look through that contract and make sure that everything reads the way you think it does.
Yeah, and then another thing, just because it's new doesn't mean it's perfect, right? I mean, you definitely want to get that inspection. Like, you want to make sure that everything was done the way it was said it was done. People make mistakes, right? My husband always likes to use the example. One time he was helping somebody with a new construction, and then there was a burrito in the wall. Like,
Oh my goodness.
Somebody had left it there.
Let us be your advocate.
Yeah.
We can go in between you and the builder.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. But again, even if you don't work with us, like, really definitely recommend that you work with an agent. Another thing to know, this is definitely a con for some people, is that it doesn't have much nightlife here, right?
It really doesn't.
Yeah.
And that could be a con. If that's the lifestyle you want to live, gosh, guys, you're going to have to drive that 2 hours.
Yeah,
And
to go to Vegas.
You will get plenty and more.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's not to say that you can't get a drink here at a restaurant, or, there's definitely bars here, there's breweries here, but it's limited, right? I mean, it's not a big party town, so. And then another pro I'd say of St. George is that it does have a nice college here. It has Utah Tech, which is a 4-year college. I feel that brings in a lot of innovation, kind of just like livens up the area, I feel like.
And going back to community, you can take classes there at
Yeah, you can
Utah
for
Tech.
adults. Yeah, I was actually looking at a brochure the other day.
I saw that too.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff. Like, Utah Tech is definitely plugged into the community. So, yeah, they have events there. Yeah, so, yeah.
And you can take cooking classes, art classes, and this is all open to the community.
Yeah, I was looking at the cooking classes, actually. Yeah, there's just a lot happening here, and yeah, it's a big pro. And remember, we are licensed realtors here in the state of Utah, so if you are thinking about moving out here to beautiful St. George, don't forget to call or text that number right there. We can get you started on finding that perfect property for you. Remember, our team here has over 40 years of experience in the St. George area, so don't forget to call us or text us.